And welcome to another episode of the Blue Duck Fantasy Football pregame show for Week 5. Yes, my mic is having issues today, so I'm speaking about as loud as I can without yelling. Hopefully that this is working well. Matt, how's it going?
I am doing well. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Any inactives to report?
The big one that just flashed across the screen there briefly.
Julio Jones
is out. If you were following the situation all week, it looked like he was going to be out. So,
Dr. J. Buenafe is back. Mike, let's go, boys. Welcome back.
Yeah. So anyway, Julio Jones out. It didn't look promising all week, so not really a surprise. Good news is all the guys that kind of looked questionable in Joe Mixon, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, all good to go.
Perfect. What about weather? Anything? Still nothing? Still October?
Looks like the forecast for this evening, there is some rain expected for the Seahawks and Vikings. They should be kind of used to that in Seattle. But that
tweet scares me bad. Let's see what they got today.
Yeah.
Rain in Seattle, so tonight might be an issue.
Yeah.
Other than that, nothing?
No, there's some light rain in other spots, but otherwise we are good to go.
All righty. So let's go back to the Thursday night football review. And the first person I want to talk about from Thursday night football is Jimmy Graham. Is this for real? Is it a lack of options in Chicago? Rest of season, where do you rank him?
Rest of season, he will be not. I don't want to start him if I don't have to. So he's outside the top 12.
Is he like top 15 though?
He's around 15 or so.
So
he's kind of rejuvenated a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, how? How has he done that? He's gotten older. He's been banged up for years. I don't buy it, but I still think because of the tight end situation, he's top 15-ish every week.
It's something where we have to maybe he's just got a chip on his shoulder. Like he kind of got written off by everyone.
True.
So maybe that's part of it. Otherwise, maybe just lack of options in Chicago that he's just the guy.
But they're not using Miller very much.
No, but he's not very good either.
It seems like Mooney's even passed him on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Jimmy Grandpa is a fraud. All righty. Good to know, Mike. So let's talk about somebody who might not be as, I don't know what he is actually, David Montgomery, or as I like to call him, Devin Montgomery or David Singletary, whatever name I mix him up with that week. He's got a bad line, or is it him?
I think it's more the line. I feel like the talent is still there.
I think he's a better NFL player than he is a fantasy player in the sense that he's not breaking off that 40-yarder for a touchdown. He's going to get you that 4 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. Because you see him spin out of tackles and get hit, but he's not a game breaker. So he's nice to have on a football team, and he's going to slowly get yards, but he's also going to put in 10 for 30 games where he just doesn't do much.
He's a good volume player, though. Like you could tell, like it's with Cohen out for sure. I mean, he's still a very startable player for me for fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. But like, what are we looking at rest of the season? Like when Cohen went out, I was looking top 15, but I don't think it's that high. I think it's probably 20 to 25 range. He's getting targets though.
Oh yeah, he's getting a lot of usage there. I'd say top 20 is fair for sure.
Yeah, I was just expecting more. A little disappointed. Leonard Fournette. What do you do with him now that Ronald Jones is playing so well when he comes back? What do you believe Leonard Fournette's role is going to be in this offense?
I think they're going to split. I don't think they're going to just go complete Rojo.
So that's ugly for both parties and ugly for fantasy. So, I mean, if somebody had Leonard Fournette, they probably should have traded him for Corey Davis. I guess that's all I'm saying. But let's talk about one of the bigger conundrums that people are going to have today, and that's Raheem Mostert and Jerick McKinnon. You believe that Mostert's the man. I believe McKinnon's the man, and I'll tell you why I believe McKinnon's the man. Last season, they played the hot hand. Started with Coleman. Breda was better. Gave it to Breda. Then Coleman came back, and Coleman was better. And then Mostert was better, and they gave it to Mostert. McKinnon's been playing amazing the last 2 games. I think they stick with him over Mostert. Your thoughts?
I don't mind the logic there. I mean, that is what Shanahan does. I think they're both going to have a bit of a role for sure. They're going to eat into each other. But I still think Mostert's going to come back and be the heavier load guy. That's who they went in with. They paid him this offseason. I think that's who they're going to run with. I'd say about a 65-35 split for Mostert.
Today?
Yeah. I think that's just going to be how they go. I don't think they brought him back early.
I feel that there's a bet here with me taking McKinnon and you taking Mostert, but are we talking fantasy points? Or are we talking total yards? What do you want to go with?
How about just touches?
Touches, but receptions count for 2.
No.
All right, I'll give you touches. I'll give you one of your bets for once instead of fighting for it. Touches bet, it's on.
I hope you can fix that mic.
What'd you think?
I said I hope you can fix your mic because I got to lean in every time I want to hear you.
Well, I can speak a bit louder. Morning, boys. Couple lineup decisions to make. Gage or Justin Jackson, and no PPR. I would go with. Is Gage healthy?
Yeah, I think so, but Julio is not.
Mm-hmm.
I almost say Jackson. I don't really know with Gage. Because that Zacchaeus?
Yeah, it's Zacchaeus or something or another. He had a big game last year too, but then he kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Gage had the good start to this season, then he disappeared.
If it was PPR, I'd go Gage just for that, but no PPR. It's Jackson for me, but it's not great either way.
Yeah, you can flip a coin there. I'm going to go with Gage just because I know he's going to be a part of the offense. I can't guarantee Jackson's going to get any touches. Yeah. So unless you need the more upside higher play, I would go with Gage.
Maybe the audio issue is on my end.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. J. Bonove. I will stop yelling into the microphone then. Matt, you need to get your ears cleaned out. Chad Coleman, number 2, Jacobs, Robinson, Hunt, or Davis need 2 of 4. That is a nice looking lineup.
It's not Davis, I don't think.
Who's against Atlanta with their defense destroyed?
Look at the other 3 options.
I think you might be sitting Josh Jacobs here because that KC defense against the run's been pretty solid. Mm-hmm. I think Hunt you have to start. I think Hunt's the for sure one.
I was going to say Jacobs is the for sure one for me.
Well, then let's go Jacobs and Hunt. I don't want to be that crazy by saying Robinson because, Jacobs and Hunt is the 2, but that's a nice lineup. You should look to trade 2 of those for another back. Like try to trade Robinson and Hunt for something. You're not going to get much for David.
For another week, maybe 2.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you just need to. This is half PPR, so he could have a wide receiver there. So he could technically trade. Like if he trades Hunt and Robinson, or Robinson and a wide receiver, Hunt and a wide receiver for an upgrade at either position, that's the play there.
Yeah. Make a trade, Chad.
Moving on. We're going to talk about some other players that have some interesting roles this week. One is AJ Brown. Matt, what do you expect his role to be on Tuesday night if that game goes? By the way, if you can't notice, the Patriots versus Broncos game has been moved to week 6. So get those players out of your lineup and get some replacements in there. If you have questions as to which ones you pick, hit us up in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Matt?
AJ Brown, I expect him to be able to play. That's a good start.
Corey Davis out.
Corey Davis is out, but he was. But he was hurt before they went on their big COVID mess there. But I expect him to be back. I think that he's going to have a fairly significant role because, like you said, Corey Davis is out. There's really not much else there besides Jonnu Smith. Buffalo's D is good. They have Tre'Davious White's probably going to play a big role. But I'd be comfortable starting A.J. Brown as a number 2 or 3 receiver this week.
Yeah, 3 is more what I'd be leaning to. Would be kind of a force fit in there for me. Another point Chad's bringing up here about his league is it's no flex spots. So having 4 or even 3 running backs is stupid. So he should be looking to trade one of those running backs and a wide receiver if he can, or 2 of those running backs for an upgrade at running back since he has no flex, which is silly.
I wouldn't say that's stupid having 3 good running backs.
When you can only start 2? With no flex?
4 good running backs in a no flex league.
Why would you want to have 4 good running backs in a no flex league?
Yeah, I had I end up trading Miles Sanders for Kittle. You know that.
So you're saying that because he has 4 running backs, he should be looking to trade some of them away for, yes. So you're agreeing with me. Perfect. Glad we got to that conclusion. Yeah, I'd say he's about...
The third good running back is not stupid.
I mean...
You have buys, injuries, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but I'd be fine with Mike Davis as the third guy.
No, not for now. Not in 2 weeks, he won't be.
Well, who was the running backs again? They were Hunt, so I guess Hunt's expiring. I'd be looking
Robinson,
to move Hunt.
Jacobs, and Mike Davis.
I wouldn't be looking to move Jacobs.
No.
Yeah, so neither are by their buys. So, Deebo Samuel, his role today, Matt.
Bigger than last week. Jimmy Garoppolo being back is going to help.
So it's kind of a stupid question because it doesn't matter. But is George Kittle's value lower than it was with the other quarterback who threw to him 15 times, or the other 2 quarterbacks who just peppered him with targets and he caught every single one of them? Does his role, like, it's obviously a must start, but does he have more value with the other guys?
I think he does.
Yeah.
And I think with Deebo being out, well, Deebo wasn't out last week, but he was very limited last week.
Yeah.
But Deebo was sick a lot of the week too this week, but he's good to go today.
Not COVID related.
Right.
Had Gordon in League 2, traded him for Keenan Allen this week. Melvin Gordon, that's a nice trade. Well done if that was Melvin Gordon. Yeah, it was Josh Gordon, even better. If you traded Josh Gordon for Keenan Allen, even better. Le'Veon Bell, another player who is coming back off injury. What do you expect his role to be today, Matt?
Not great. I did move him down. I don't know if you noticed that, but I moved him down in my weekly rankings a bit. He's still borderline start. I think he was in like the 24, 25 range for me, but I think he's gonna get opportunity because their offense is so bad and Joe Flacco's not good and there's no receivers left, and so he will definitely have touches. Just what he can do with them. I wouldn't expect a huge day from him.
Yeah, I also moved him down in my rankings. I think he's more of a desperation play or a flex play. I'm not opposed to him in the flex play in a PPR league, but you probably have better options just because of the uncertainty. I mean, they could go out there and feed him, but Adam Gase is an idiot, and he's just an idiot. So you don't know what he's going to do because he's an idiot. But I'm hopeful. I don't know if you can see the man in the back on the right is going to be coming here shortly. And he might be able to avoid Adam Gase because if they lose again today, they might fire Adam Gase.
I don't know. Are they just trying to lose and get a better draft pick, maybe?
See, I'm hoping Adam Gase gets fired, and then next week when that man right there shows up, they are without Adam Gase and they start feeding him the ball. Question here from KGW Watkinson. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Williams, Chargers, or Devin Singletary. Choose one, full PPR. So it's definitely not Ayuk. And Mike Williams' health has been in question all week.
Yeah.
It's between Singletary and Deebo. Do we have news on Zach Moss? Is he playing?
He had a full practice on Friday, so I would assume he's going to be going.
Singletary's been disappointing without Moss, but it's tough to say what Deebo Samuel's role is going to be. The higher floor is Singletary, and the higher ceiling is Samuel to me.
But, is Singletary going to play? Is that game going to happen?
That's another good point. That game on Tuesday. So if they don't go, you're kind of stuck.
Unless you don't have contingency.
Yeah, which nobody apparently used in our league today. I haven't seen anything or heard anything. I don't know if you had any players that needed to be on it.
I didn't have anybody, no. But, if you don't have the contingency, I would go Deebo. I wouldn't risk Devin Singletary. He's not worth it.
I 100% agree. The gap there isn't big enough for you to subject yourself to that. So if you don't have any type of manual or a best ball format, which obviously you don't since you're asking for who to start, it's Deebo Samuel because of the risk of that game not being played on Tuesday night. Thanks for the question, KJW. Moving on to the last person we're going to talk about before we get into the rankings fight, and that is a tight end that nobody was talking about preseason, Mo Alley-Cox, tight end out of Indianapolis. Matt, did you know that Mo Alley-Cox is the only player other than Travis Kelce to have 3 top 10 weeks at the tight end position so far this season in standard scoring?
That's quite surprising, but the tight ends have been weird this year.
They have been weird. They have not been very consistent. Zach Ertz has been absolutely terrible. Other players have been hurt. Jonu's missed time. It's been very odd. But what do we make of Mo Ali Cox? He's a sit for every single one of us. He's outside the top 12. But is it time to start taking him seriously? I say no because he's not getting the snap counts. And I have Jack Doyle in my DFS.
Didn't he have like 2 or 3 targets last week too? Like it went down pretty heavily.
He has been as efficient as one can be on the volume that he's getting. And the snap share is basically split between him. I think he's third on the tight end snap list behind Jack Doyle and behind Trey Burton. So he's really he's just been, I'm going to say lucky. He's gotten the right targets. He had the 100-yard game. He's had touchdowns in the other games. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but he's basically a desperation play if you lost. I mean, what tight end would you have lost? Noah Fant, I guess? He'd be the only one.
Big Bob Robert Tonyan.
I mean, if you had Tonyan, you probably drafted somebody else as well. So
Hawkinson, maybe?
Yeah, I guess Hawkinson. Mo Ali Cox, not a starter for either of us. Anyways, it is time for our rankings fight. There's not a lot to get to this week, Matt. We talked about the Jerick McKinnon, Raheem Mostert one. We bet on touches. I have McKinnon. You have Mostert. We're going to start with quarterbacks. I have Ryan Tannehill, if he plays, ranked 13th. Against Buffalo defense that is ranked 23rd. The average between you and Mr. Black is 22nd. I think it should be a higher scoring game. Tennessee's technically coming off the bye, so they should be fresh and they should be really ready for the Bills. Why do you have them like close to 20 and not close to starting?
I like that Bills defense. That's kind of what the 23rd ranking. I don't really believe that's their true. It's just they're not their true identity. They're a much better defense than 23rd against the quarterbacks here. Like I said, Tre'Davious White is probably going to be a big factor with AJ Brown. Maybe Jonnu Smith has a decent day, but I just don't think that. There's certainly 13 better quarterbacks to me than Ryan Tannehill.
So the Bills have played the Rams, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Jets, and have been 23rd against passing quarterbacks. They
were up big against the Rams, so the Rams just kind of threw.
And why couldn't they get up big against the Titans as well?
That's true.
I'm going based on the fantasy points here. Tannehill hasn't been bad this year. He has 6 touchdowns on the year. He has a low floor, I'll give you that. But he has a higher ceiling than most. We have another question here from KJW Watkinson. Darrell Henderson Jr. or Devonta Freeman? I'm going to go with Devonta Freeman because I think Devonta Freeman is the lead back in that offense. I think that'll be a high-scoring game. And I have no idea what Darrell Henderson Jr. is going to be. I think Malcolm Brown is the guy getting the most touches right now. Cam Akers coming back. I just think there's way too much uncertainty with Henderson. And there's more, even though there's not that much more, there's more with Freeman. I like Freeman in a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I was just double-checking here. They're 4 spots apart. I have Henderson higher. It just kind of depends to me on your matchup there. If you need the low floor or the high floor, I would go Freeman. I think Henderson's probably got the higher ceiling still.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If he just looks good and they start giving them ball, but I don't know. I would go with Henderson. Chark or Boyd? I am playing Chark in a standard matchup, Nick. So I have Chark in over Boyd. I believe Boyd might be in as my flex over Debo, but I do have Chark ahead of Boyd. I think Chark has a really good matchup this week.
I think KJW Chark is the answer there too. Yeah. But they're both good options. I like them both.
Do you think now, because of how bad AJ Green has been, that the top corner for the Ravens is going to follow Boyd and Peters will get AJ Green? Or will Peters even go to Higgins and they'll just leave AJ Green against the third guy?
I don't know what the Ravens' plan is going to be for AJ Green, but I think Humphrey following around Boyd might be
a good bet.
A good bet, yeah. Again, like AJ Green still got the name value, and I think that.
But they have Peters as well, who also has some name value, right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely Boyd is definitely their number one now. Like
yes.
AJ's kind of.
The question is who's the number 2, and I still have him as AJ Green, but the gap is narrowing. You'll see later if we get a chance to play the Sunday Showdown that Fantasy Pros has T. Higgins well ahead of AJ Green. As AJ Green is all the way in the C group and T. Higgins is in the B group. So let's talk about Baker Mayfield, Matt. You have him at 13, so you think he's better than Ryan Tannehill by a lot. While Mr. Black and I have him at 23. Going up against Indy, which is the number 1 ranked passing defense. What is there to like about this guy? He's not even the best passer on his team.
Well, Jarvis Landry said he had a sore bicep or something right after the next day, so he couldn't throw more than one pass. But no, I like the Cleveland offense. They've got tons of weapons. I mean, Indy's D is good for sure.
No Leonard today.
No Darius Leonard is big for Kareem Hunt for sure. In the run game. I mean, I suppose it'll help the passing game as well. But yeah, Cleveland's offense has just been on a bit of a roll. He didn't have that great of a game last week, but top 13, no issue there. Odell and Jarvis Landry should have decent days.
We have a comment here regarding what you just said.
Bake sucks.
Damn it. We do have a question, though. Robert Woods, David Johnson, or Jonathan Taylor. Choose one. Full PPR. Woods is your safe play. I like the David Johnson matchup this week. He is going against Jacksonville, which Joe Mixon basically said, whoever you think you are, I am last week too, right, man? So
I am, yeah.
The upside there for David Johnson, I don't think Jonathan Taylor is in the question yet. I just don't think he's getting enough touches. They're still using the other running backs. Why? I don't know, but they are. Matt,
I'm going to go right against you. I'm going to pick Jonathan Taylor.
You're going to go Jonathan Taylor over these two. Yeah. Sounds like we have another bet on our hands. So I'll take the field and you get Jonathan Taylor.
No, you only get one.
I'll go Woods versus Taylor.
Okay. I mean, nothing wrong with Robert Woods either. I think David Johnson was my third pick out of those.
I think, like I said, David Johnson is in my DFS lineup. I think he might be in both. He has a high upside. I'm going off what Mixon did against the Jaguars defense, who is missing everyone today. Did you see who the Jaguars are missing? Allen's out. Miles Jack is out. So if you need the high upside play, it's going to be David Johnson. Ryan Riel asks, do you want a dick pic? No, Ryan, we do not. Would you trade CMC for James Robinson? I mean, it depends on how desperate you are for a running back this week. With everything going on, if you had James White in your starting lineup and you needed a running back because you were playing another team and you really needed it, I mean, it's a tough move to make, but it just depends on how important it is to win your matchup for this week. I definitely wouldn't do it, but maybe you would.
I would not make that trade.
Will Fuller doesn't play into the discussion. He's fourth on the list for me. He's so spotty. Dr. J. Buenafe, is Matheson who we think he is? Yeah, I think he's a handcuff to Dalvin Cook. That's who we think he is.
Yeah, if once Dalvin Cook gets hurt, he will be really good, but he doesn't do much until that happens.
Yeah, he's not into the
when.
He's not enough a big part in the offense for him to be started at all. He's just a player who's going to take up a roster spot on your bench for the whole season. He's the number 1 or number 2 handcuff. Well, I mean, I don't count Kareem Hunt as a handcuff. You think he's ahead of Pollard?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it's close. I think either way, they both get all the carries. There's not too many other situations where if one guy goes down, the other guy gets all the carries. That wasn't drafted highly. So I do think Madison is exactly what we think he is as a handcuff. Dustin Holland asks, Kirk, a sneaky flex this week. Christian Kirk. I don't really think so. I'm forced to start him in the league because I lost Jerry Jeudy, who was my candle lighter of the week. But I don't think he's a sneaky flex. I don't know. Matt, Christian Kirk?
He's a borderline flex play. I mean, if you're desperate and you lost, I don't know, somebody in Denver, or like you said, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, or N'Keal Harry they're probably pretty close, him or Harry, but I don't think he's himself with as the number 2 yet. I think he will. I think he's a good pickup and hold, and I picked him up and held him in several leagues that we were dropped in our league of record. I picked him up this week. He was on the waiver wire. I definitely think it, but that's a dynasty-ish keeper league, so there is potential for him to break out down the line. But I think if you have better options, go with your better options. Dustin, why don't you let us know what your other options are, and we'll let you know what the best play is there. Dr. Clutch, welcome to the show. Ward. Why am I drawing a blank on who Ward is?
Greg Ward.
Greg Ward. Well, you can't play Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
Justin Jackson at flex. Dr. Clutch plays standard. So, again, the question with Justin Jackson is how many touches is he going to get? And I think he's going to get a fair bit. He's going to get enough. It's close between him and Ward, though, because I think Ward's a pretty safe guy for about 60 yards, but it's standard, so there's no PPR. So give me Justin Jackson there. Matt?
I would say Justin Jackson as well, yeah. There's no receivers back for Philly yet, I don't believe, though.
But there's Travis Fulgham.
Yeah, there is Travis Fulgham.
And Zach Ertz, who had 9 yards last week on 4 catches. What a monster.
Yeah, he's PPR machine.
Dr. J. Buenafe, Madison in for Melvin Gordon. Pray for Dr. J. I mean, regardless of your league, you're looking at single-digit points on that. A fluke touchdown is your best bet. Like Cook taking him down the field and just being tired and then getting vultured. You got to do it. Like I saw so many things on Twitter where the people at CBS were like, "Oh, here's some guys you can plug in for that," and it's Dion Lewis, and I'm like, "Ugh," like I don't know. Like there's. It sucks that it happened. And one of the things I want to talk about right now before we go any further is you cannot have 2 players on the same team anymore. If you have Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper, you have to trade one. You have to trade one. Because if that game gets canceled, you lose your week. And it does not even have to be their fault. It could be the other team's fault. And it could damage the following week. So you can't have any stacks. You have to have players spread out as much as possible. I'm not saying go grab terrible players. I'm saying you need to trade one of those 2 players. I traded Cooper for Zeke this week, not straight up. It was a bigger trade that I won't get into. But you can't be holding on to this many players on the same team. I had somebody in one league saying, I have 4 players in the matchup that got canceled, and you can't have that.
Well, if it's 2 from each team.
Right, but you should at most have 2. Like, you can't have 4. You can't replace 4 guys in your lineup and expect to win. You can replace 2 and have a chance if you have a good bench and a good team. But you can't replace 4. So you can't be stacking players on several teams. If you have, and again, the best example I had was if you have Dak and Cooper, you have to trade one. We had a question last week where somebody's like, who should I trade, Lamar or Dak? If you have another player off that team, if you have Lamar and Mark Andrews, you have to trade Lamar.
I feel like you are really picking on my team in one of our leagues there because I've got Dak and Cooper, and I've got A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry.
I honestly have no idea who you have on that team. And I wasn't. This is just something that I've seen talked about a lot. You can't be stacking players like because this happens. It's going to happen pretty much every week, every other week. Things are going to get moved around. You're going to have bye weeks that come out of nowhere. So you can't have players on the same team unless you have a situation where, you have Chase Edmonds and DeAndre Hopkins. That's fine. You can keep Chase Edmonds because his value is literally nothing. You're not starting him. But you can't have Kenyon Drake and DeAndre Hopkins. You can't have Joe Mixon and Boyd. You get the idea. Other option is Higgins, which would be an option, but I don't know. No, Higgins is not an option compared to your other 2 here with Ward and Justin Jackson. It is Justin Jackson. Dr. J. Buenafe, after my rant, says, how do you think they handle the COVID situation come playoff time? Bubble time. They're going in a bubble come playoffs.
They may have to.
It might be 2 bubbles, one for the AFC, one for the NFC, but they're going in a bubble. And I expect the season to go into January and playoffs to start in February, probably seeing a March Super Bowl. They'll push the draft out, but I still think that they'll look to start the season on time next season, just with a shorter off season, and it'll be the perfect way to get rid of some preseason games that they don't want to play anyways.
But I mean, it's
Ali Cox or Fells. Jordan Akins is out, and so is every single person. No, they're not playing Jacksonville, are they? Is Houston playing Jacksonville?
Yes, they are.
And every single person on defense is out there. Miles Jack is the linebacker who covers tight ends, right?
He should be.
Fells is a sneaky start. Ali Cox is probably the smarter start, but I would go with Fells just because I want to gamble and because I don't like you. Just kidding, Ryan. Shout out to Matty Ice. Absolutely nailing it. Who do you think you are? I am start of the week last week. That being said, who is that player this week? You knew this question was coming. This is going to be a weekly thing where you have to come up with who do you think you are? I am start of the week. Joe Mixon was the pick last week. You absolutely destroyed it. I am not even going to try to compete with you on this because this is like the Sunday Showdown on steroids here. Matt, who is your pick this week? Everyone wants to know.
I'm gonna surprise you because I don't really like him much. Kenyon Drake.
Okay, I mean it makes sense. Matt Ryan wants to know who should start. Ali Cox or Fells? I'm saying Fells. I think Fells has sneaky upside value, and the tight ends there tend to catch touchdowns. We've talked about Ali Cox not being consistent. Like it's not going to be consistent enough. But I know Ryan doesn't want to listen to me, so you can go ahead.
I mean, it's going to be Fells a little bit, but neither are good options. Like I said, we just talked about it. Cox with his 3 targets isn't reliable enough. Fells will have more. You're going all over the place here.
So who do you want him to start?
I said Fells.
So we both say Fells.
I don't, just because Cox is just too few.
I think we had the question about whether Kirk is a sneaky play or not. I think Fells is a very sneaky play, and congrats to you for picking him up and putting him on your team because you're hurting at tight end with Ali Cox and Fells, but I think Fells is a very sneaky start this week. He's the only tight end there, so I don't see why he wouldn't get the touchdown that they always tend to throw to a random tight end. Dr. Clutch asks, is it bad that I'm kind of worried about Justin Jackson, especially in standard? I'm leaning towards, okay, I mean, if Ward is well ahead of Higgins, you can be worried about Justin Jackson. It's not bad because we don't know what his role is going to be, but he got plenty of touches last week. So I don't see why they wouldn't continue to give him some touches.
And it's a 4th-round rookie that's starting now, right? Like,
yeah,
not a huge pedigree there. I get the hesitation on Justin Jackson, but that would be who I would go there. I don't think there's a huge gap between Ward and Higgins, though.
Sleeper just alerted me that New England game is canceled. Big news. Sleeper app just informed me that the New England game is canceled.
Oh, wow.
Big news. Half an hour to kick off. Okay, back to the rankings fight. Let's see what we got. We're just into the quarterbacks. We are going to just skip to something else right now. This is going to be a new weekly segment here, and Matt has come prepared for this. I'm definitely not going to put him on the spot for this. Good. Matt, who are your top candlelighters of the week? For those who don't know what a candlelighter is, as I didn't until after the show last week when Matt told me where the expression came from, it's when you nail a huge drive and somebody else yells, light the candle. So we're looking for people that are high floor safe picks that you'd want in your double up lineup. Sound about right, Matt? Somebody who's going to light up the room like a candle, but not overly bright. They're not going to be the huge upside play, but they're going to be the solid, dependable play. So when you look at them in your lineup, you see, oh, wow, that's a nice 100-yard game. Oh, that's a nice 60-yard game and a touchdown. Standard, low teens, and in PPR, high teens. So, Matt, who are your top candlelighters of the week? I'm definitely not putting you on the spot because we talked about this beforehand. Yeah. And I'm not asking for you. I'm not trying to give you time to think here. I'm just going to let everybody know, if you're watching this, make sure you like the video because that tells YouTube that you liked it and they show it to other people, which helps us grow. And hit the subscribe button, which does the exact same thing. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button as I keep building up to suspense to hear who Matt's top candlelighters of the week are.
Okay, well, let's say... So just someone that's going to be pretty solid in PPR this week.
Not pretty solid, guaranteed solid. Somebody that you would put your money on to be an absolute stud. I said Jerry Jeudy would have been my candlelighter of the week had he not gone out. I thought that was a great situation. No Gilmore, who has COVID, so he doesn't have to worry about that coverage. And no Sutton, no Fant. I really like that play. Now, again, you don't have to be and go as far off as you want, but hopefully you don't pick somebody like Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, you've already got your picks lined up. So, Matt, it's time for you to light the candle. Tell us who is going to light the candle this week. Who is going to be that solid start that you want in your double up for DFS? Who's going to be that guy in your lineup where you're like, good job, thank you for the week?
I'll surprise you a little bit. And one of my DFS plays, Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson, I like it. Antonio Gibson is going up against which team, Matt?
Rams.
Against the Rams run defense that is ranked.
Well, he's going to be
14th.
Pass catcher.
So what is the projected stat line for Antonio Gibson, your candlelighter of the week?
Antonio Gibson had a really good day last week, actually, quietly.
So quietly, yes, I agree. Because he had a lot of the yards catching the ball, right?
Yeah.
I know he punched one in, and then he had a lot of yards catching the ball, which you don't see 100 yards there. You see like 60-60, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I'll give him like about 70 on the ground and about 40 in the air at the touchdown.
So over 100 total yards and a touchdown. Antonio Gibson lights the candle for Matt this week.
With about 4 or 5 catches.
4 or 5 catches. If you're playing PPR, that's a 20 burger right there on a guy that you probably got later in your draft. So Antonio Gibson lights the candle for Matt. Matt, why do you hate Teddy Bridgewater? What has he ever done to you?
I don't hate Teddy Bridgewater.
You have him at 24th in your rankings. You know that Fantasy Pros has him inside the top 10?
That seems insanely high.
He's at like 7.
I don't know.
He's ahead of Drew Brees.
Like that offense is a passing offense in general. I mean, I know they're playing Atlanta.
Sure. I mean, Atlanta's terrible on defense. They have no safety. Ian Thomas, a sneaky tight end play for Ryan Riel if you're looking to go in a different direction. Although I did like Fells. I thought Fells is a good sneaky play as well.
I did pick up Bridgewater to start in one of my leagues, and then someone dropped Matt Ryan, so I picked him up instead. But
I agree with that. I'm not saying he should be ahead of these guys. I'm not saying he should be inside the top 10. But 24, Matt, come on.
Okay, I'm looking at some of the other names. If I put him ahead, maybe I put him ahead of Rivers, which 23. He doesn't just strike me as a big, huge fantasy quarterback here. I think they're going to be balanced, and he probably has a solid day, but not
286 great. Average pass yards per game on 25, or that's not a right number, on 25 completions probably. He's had decent. He just hasn't had the touchdowns. He's had good yardage numbers. He hasn't run really well, but he hasn't had the touchdowns either. So KJW Watkinson says, my light the candle is David Johnson. I don't think that's really a light the candle candidate. I think David Johnson is either going to be whoever you think you are, I am, or a bust. I don't think I see David Johnson just being out there and having a solid game. I know it's a new coach, and I have him in my DFS in my tournament lineup, but I wouldn't put him in a double up lineup. Okay, this is Calvin Ridley is absolutely a monster. I love Calvin Ridley. He is going to be a beast with Julio Jones out. He's definitely lighting the candle this week. There's no question about that. Calvin Ridley, if he doesn't light the candle, you're going to look to buy low on him next week because he's going to light the candle every other week after that. He is
for guys outside like the top 5 at their position.
Yeah, and I mean with Julio Jones out, this guy is must start. There's no question he's in your lineup. Matt, that's low. Come on, man.
No, that says common man.
Common man.
I am a common man. What can I say?
I'm not sure what that's referring to.
I think he's talking about Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, having him at 24. Yes, I agree. That is incredibly low. Like if you had him like 15, that'd be okay. But like, let's look at some of the people you have ahead of him. Derek Carr.
They're going to have to throw.
Jimmy Garoppolo. I see like Daniel Jones.
Sorry? Daniel
Jones.
Yeah, they're going to – but Dallas's defense, that's the same argument you have, and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I almost had Daniel Jones in my DFS, but I had money for Dak, so I was like, well, I might as well go with Dak then. Yeah. KJW Watkinson is basically going to be on this show next week because he's providing tons of content. The other light the candle that's the same comment as before. Thank you, KJW, for the comments. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Really appreciate that. So, Matt, Teddy Bridgewater, are you coming around a bit? Top 20?
But it's still like I maybe have no higher than 20.
Herbert and Tannehill, they're both ahead of him still?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk about Mark Ingram, who I have at 36. I don't think you can start any of the Ravens running backs anymore.
Yeah.
You have him at 29, so he's in the flex range for you, but again, not an ideal flex. It's time to – he was my drop of the week. Like, he's welcome to Dumpsville. I want nothing to do with Mark Ingram. He's not going to get his job back. He was touchdown dependent last year, but he didn't have as much competition as he does this year. Gus Edwards would sometimes get work. Justice Hill would sometimes get work. Now it's like split. I had the numbers here on the touches. I think I wrote it in the post. I don't have it in front of me. I threw it out. But they're averaging like single digits. Every single one of them. They're all in the same thing. Le'Veon Bell, possible light the candle. Le'Veon Bell, possibly whoever you think you are, I am. Because if he comes back and plays really well, he's been trying to be whoever you think you are, I am for over a year now since he signed that contract with the Jets. But yeah, definitely could be a candidate for that. But I think when we're talking light the candle, we're talking about that nice drive down the middle of the fairway that's really just nice for your team. You guys are buzzing today. Great chemistry. Thank you, Dr. J. Buenafe. Best of luck today in your matchups. Make sure to hit us up with their questions. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe. Jonnu Smith, a guy that I really like this week. I have him top 5 at tight end. I think he's played really well this season. I think with Corey Davis out, we are basically looking at him being the number 1 or number 2 option, depending on how healthy A.J. Brown actually is, but also whether or not that game happens. Yes. We both have him in the top 10. I just wanted to point out, I think Jonnu Smith, with either Davis or A.J. Brown out, is a monster. With both of them in, he's outside the top 10 and just kind of like an okay start.
Yeah.
Matt, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I agree. He's a good play while one of those two is out. And that's, I mean, top 10, I don't think is disrespectful for him.
No, not at all. I was all over him. I liked him a lot.
But yeah, Buffalo's got a solid D. I mean, they're still a run heavy offense. I mean, Derrick Henry is still the guy there. There's no doubt about it. Top 5, I wouldn't put him ahead of any of my top 5 guys there. I'm looking. You could definitely argue with him and Zach Ertz, though.
Yeah, Zach Ertz has been pretty bad. TJ Hawkinson or Jonnu Smith or Noah Fant for the future? I'll take Fant.
Yeah.
I think Fant's the number 1 option on that team, and I'll take that.
It's Fant or Hawk. I'd put Fant slightly ahead.
I think it's close between Hawk and Jonnu Smith, and I know you have a bias for TJ Hawkinson. For whatever reason or another. I would. It's definitely Fant. I think I go Jonnu Smith, but it's very close between him and Hawkinson. They're both in a similar situation. I mean, Marvin Jones, Corey Davis is your number 2. The only thing is, the reason I would lean Hawk is because they're not a run-first team. They're a pass-first team. So there's a better chance Hawk gets the catches there. So, yeah, I'll agree.
When Fant, Hawk, future, are we talking like 3 weeks from now, or are we saying like
rest of season? When he says for the future, rest of season. If you're playing Dynasty, it's Fant, Hawkinson, Smith as well. I don't think it changes.
Yeah. Okay.
You can maybe argue Hawkinson over Fant if you're playing Dynasty. That's about it. I'm scared Jonnu won't play, and that is a realistic fear. So if you do, what's your other option, KJW?
Well, the Hawkinson and Noah Fant, I'm guessing, and neither of them are playing.
No. Then I guess you're stuck. I mean, you can't be 3 tight ends. Is this a dynasty league where you have 3 tight ends? Anyways, Matt, you're done with Austin Hooper. He's not.
Hey, I actually moved him up.
Okay, well, I'm at 18 here for you against the number 1 defense.
Yeah,
but
no, I moved him up from like 20 something last week, I think.
And Njoku's back, so I get it. I'm not saying. I think it might be time for people to dump Austin Hooper. I think the Kevin, I don't know what the coach's name is. Kevin
Stefanski
plays a 2 tight end set. He likes playing 2 tight end sets. You saw Harrison Bryant getting some work while Njoku was out. I assume Njoku's going to get more work while he's there. I think Njoku's the better talent. If you're playing in a dynasty league, he's not a bad asset to acquire, but I don't think either of them have starting value last year. It's very similar to the situation in Minnesota where Rudolph had some games when Thielen went out and Irv Smith was there as well. Sorry, Instagram.
That's okay.
I had a lot to get through today. We have about like 15 minutes left. What would you like to do? Would you like to keep going through the rankings? Do you want to go to the let's just go to the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers and tight ends who have under or overperformed. Matt, who is a quarterback who has overperformed for you? And do you expect regression from them, or do you expect them to keep it up?
It's got to be Dak, right?
Dak is on my list. I expect some regression, but he's still going to be must start.
Right. He's still going to be really good, but he's not going to keep up exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, nailed that. Moving on. Somebody who's also overperforming, who I expect a bit more regression than Dak, simply because they can't keep this up, and that's Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Russ is definitely up there too.
Who do you want rest of the season? Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson?
Dak.
Agreed.
Seattle's offense isn't built the way they're playing. It's not going to stay that way.
Who are your most overpriced and underpriced fantasy players? I actually think we're hitting on that right now. So right on cue, Dr. J. Bonifay. Thanks for the question. Flex play, Edwards or Akers? Who is
Gus or Cam?
Gus Edwards or Cam Akers?
I'm guessing.
Wow.
I'm going Cam.
Edwards doesn't really get the end zone touches, does he? So he's kind of just like runs middle of the field. So give me Akers. Give me Akers, but I don't like either. Snipe alert. I just picked up T.Y. Hilton for Jamison Crowder. That is a bad trade. I don't like it whatsoever. I think T.Y. Hilton, even though, sorry about that. That's me. I forget players' names. Thanks for the question, Ryan. Make sure you like and subscribe. Snipe alert. Just picked up T.Y. Hilton for Jamison Crowder. I like Crowder more than T.Y. Hilton rest of season.
They're close for me. T.Y. is definitely on the decline, though.
We're going to get to T.Y., who has underperformed, but was called one of the busts that I was expecting. I don't think T.Y. has that much left. I think he's a tough matchup this week against Denzel Ward. I don't think he'll do much. And I think Jamison Crowder, I don't care if it's Flacco. I don't think that quarterback drop-off from Darnold to Flacco is that important. Just because Flacco has never been a great fantasy quarterback, neither has Darnold. So, sorry to spoil it.
I agree. Jameson's he's got a high floor for sure.
Some undervalued quarterback, some underperforming. They should say underperforming.
Okay, so before we go into underperforming, overperforming, are you putting Aaron Rodgers in that list?
No, I think he's right on what I expected him to be.
That's just going to stay happening. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope so.
He's my MVP for a reason.
It's right there for a reason too.
Wait, what?
There's a picture of him right there.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of pictures of him all over your house.
Yeah.
So some underperforming ones, Carson Wentz. I expect some bounce back, but until he gets some pass catchers, I just don't see him being the way he was. So you're going to be waiting a while. Not somebody I would target. Quarterbacks, you should have good quarterbacks. You shouldn't be really worried about it. But yeah, he's going to be in the top 12 range. He's not going to be the top 5 person that we think he is. Trey asks, do I sit Henry? My only option is Durness. Had to sit Singletary too. I don't think he can. Not for that. I mean, Durness could get nothing.
Yeah.
If you had a different option, maybe, but not for Durness. And I mean, Durness could have a big game as well. You just no clue.
Yeah, and so just to get back, Carson Wentz, he seems to have added a running arsenal to his game as well this year. So I think that's going to keep his floor higher. And like you said, when he's got more pass catchers, he'll be okay. He'll end up being okay.
Another quarterback who is currently at quarterback 11, who none of us are worried about, and we're just going to skip through this real quick, is Lamar Jackson. He's going to be fine. I don't think anybody's trying to sell him, but quarterback 11 so far through 4 games, underperforming. He'll get back into the top 5. Some over and underperforming running backs. I have James Conner, whose last 2 games have been pretty amazing after he cost you the bet in week 1, and they had the bye last week. I don't think it'll last because I don't think he can stay healthy, so I would sell high on James Conner. Your thoughts? 100 yards and a touchdown last couple games, 100+ yards and a touchdown.
But he's this is what he does. If he's playing, he's usually pretty good.
I'm not worried about his skill. I'm worried about his health.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
So would you look to trade him?
Return for him for sure, but like I said, I'm okay holding him too.
There was a trade in one of my leagues where somebody traded Naheem Hines and Jonathan Taylor for James Conner and Benny Snell. Which side do you like?
The Taylor side.
Agreed. Last couple games, 16 for 106 and a touchdown, 18 for 109 and a touchdown, 2 for 15 and 4 for 40 on the catching department. So playing really well. Another player, I don't know if he counts in this because he's only had 2 good games the past 2 games, and it's because they had touchdowns, and that's Todd Gurley. Sell him immediately. That Atlanta team is not very good. Why are you saying shh?
I've got Todd Gurley in the league.
So sell him. Trade him.
Yeah, I think he'll have another decent day today. The Carolina defense is not good.
Yeah, he should. And again, you still have a chance to sell him, but I don't think he can keep it up. He's not catching a lot of balls, so I think you should sell him. Regression is coming for him because he's just getting touchdowns. He's not getting yards. Once he stops getting those touchdowns, you're going to be like, oh, he sucks, just like Kenyon Drake does. But as soon as Kenyon Drake starts getting touchdowns, you'll think he's great. I've got Kupp, Thomas, and Parker. I probably won't start Crowder anyways.
Agreed.
Fair enough. Those three are going to be above Crowder every week. Dr. Clutch says, well, I'm 1-4. No Rodgers due to bye, so let's hope Jimmy G can lead me to a victory. He's like the only quarterback that's not Foles, Cousin, Rivers, Kyle Allen, Flacco, or Mayfield. I think Cousins might be the pickup there.
Yeah, I like Cousins more than Garoppolo this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rain doesn't really scare me that much for that game. It's just going to be high scoring, I think.
And we'll move on to some underperforming running backs. We already mentioned Kenyon Drake. He is your...
Who do you think you are? I am start of the week?
Exactly. You know I struggle with saying that. So Kenyon Drake in all of our DFS lineups every week until he hits. Basically what we're talking about.
They should be up big against the Jets. That's what I think.
Myles Gaskin or Watkins, Tyler Polonsky asks, what's the scoring here, Tyler? Is it PPR or standard? Because I think that makes a difference in this because it's close.
It's not
Miami playing San Fran. Who's Miami playing? San Fran?
Yeah, San Fran.
So they're probably going to be chasing points, probably be passing a lot. I don't think Gaskin will get that many touches, but in a sense, it's PPR. So I would actually go with Watkins because it's PPR. In standard, I would go with Gaskin, but I would go with Watkins PPR. Matt?
Yeah, Sammy Watkins. Yeah, I kind of said Sammy just before you said Watkins there. So,
Mark Ingram, we talked about another guy who's underperforming. He's garbage. Over and underperforming wide receivers. I'm going with the Seattle guys. I'm expecting some regression there just because I expect regression from Wilson. We all saw what Lockett did late last season where he did his disappearing act and he would show up every 3 games or so. So it should go back to being a run first team. Another player, Calvin Ridley. After the 0 last week, he's still top 3 in PPR and number 1 in standard after his no-catch week 4 performance. Julio is not 100%. I was 1 year early on saying that he wasn't going to be top 10. Calvin Ridley, I believe. I don't see any regression there. I think Calvin Ridley is a monster rest of the season, top 10.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is big. Yeah, for sure. He's staying where he is. Maybe not quite that high, but he's staying up there.
Yeah, well, Jimmy G leading over Miami early just means they're going to be running more. So if he doesn't get the touchdowns early, he's never going to get them. Yeah. Jimmy G or Kirk Cousins is going to be in a shootout with Seattle, so they're going to be throwing all day. Kirk Cousins is the start over Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Jimmy Graham.
And Jimmy Graham, of course, if you have that super flex option. Although Jimmy Graham had a good game already, so maybe you want to just put that in and take it. Underperforming wide receivers, obviously, AJ Green is the name here. If there was a category as whoever I thought it used to be, I'm not anymore. I think AJ Green, unfortunately, has to be put into that category. He's not going to be a top 20 or a top 10 or top 15, but I still think he possesses some value as a flex option. I wouldn't be dropping him, as some people would. This needs to be a 2-hour show, maybe 90 minutes next week. It's not every week that we're going to do the over-under thing, though. So, but I mean, we're not going to be able to get to the Sunday Showdown today.
Oh, no.
DJ Moore also underperforming. Wide receiver 31. Robbie Anderson is top 10. You see a little Freaky Friday flip there by end of the season?
Yeah.
Yeah, 15, 25? Or do you think Moore is going to be top 10 come end of season?
Maybe not quite top 10, but top 15.
So 15 and 25 sounds about right from 31 and 10? A little.
Yeah. DJ's just got the way higher floor. Robbie Anderson's a big play guy. We all know that.
Jarvis Landry. Wide receiver 44 through 4 weeks.
Okay. Sorry, are we going questions? Probably.
We're going questions. Team out of nowhere wants to know start 2 in PPR. Gaskin, CD, or Joshua Kelly? CD and Kelly.
CD and Kelly, yeah.
What do you think about Rivers against Cleveland? I think Rivers doesn't look very good, and I would rather start Jimmy Garoppolo. We've told you Cousins is the play. You got to go Cousins. Over under 15 pots for Michael Thomas. All right.
Was that one a PPR league?
Start 2 in PPR. See, I think he's just correcting the spelling on something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
start 2.
Joshua Kelly was spelled. No, it's just right.
Yeah, you spelled it right both times. You just put an asterisk. Thanks for the comment. But yeah, it doesn't change. Over under 15 points, full PPR. Michael Thomas. It's full PPR. Over. I got to go over because it's full PPR.
You probably get 15, at least 16 pots as well.
Yeah, 16 pots. Jarvis Landry, wide receiver 44.
Yeah, underperforming for sure. He'll straighten that out. I believe in that.
I think the injury plays a big role. I don't think he gets back to anywhere near where you had him preseason. I think he's going to end up around where AJ Green ends up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he can throw too, though. So.
Okay, but he hurts his bicep after he throws. So let's get to a question from Dustin Holland, who wants to know Latavius Murray, Durness, or Justin Jackson flex. I'll go Justin Jackson. Yeah,
Justin Jackson, then Murray, then Durness.
Yeah, we really don't know what we're going to get out of Murray. Durness could be a guy who blows up and has a huge game today, but I'll take the solid points, Justin Jackson.
Yeah.
Tight ends, we've talked about Jonnu Smith and Molly Cox. What about Dalton Schultz, who's been overperforming? He's got to give some up. I mean, that team isn't going to throw as much as it does all season, but him or Jimmy Graham rest of the season, who do you want?
I'll take Schultz.
Agreed.
A lot higher upside. Like the offenses aren't even comparable.
That's true. That's definitely a good point. Ray_gamer says Robert Woods or Jerick McKinnon standard.
Bob Woods.
I think you have to go Woods just because of the uncertainty with Mostert coming back. And Robert Woods is usually he's basically a running back at the wide receiver percent when it comes to standard. He's going to get yards every week. He's not going to put up too many donuts. Ridley, Anderson, Woods, Boyd, Johnson, choose 2. So okay. Calvin Ridley is in.
Ridley's easy.
Matt Anderson. Who's Anderson?
I'm not sure who the Anderson is.
EJ Anderson, really? Robert Woods, Tyler Boyd, and I mean Johnson. Like, you got to give us something on Johnson. I'm
going to say Ridley and Woods with the information we have. I think it's probably going to be them anyway.
I don't think there's a better Johnson.
Robbie
Anderson. Oh, right. Forgot about him. Is this standard or PPR?
Well, it was full PPR earlier with Michael Thomas. So
I feel like he's got a lot of leagues. Deontay Johnson. Okay, so let's go with Ridley and Woods.
Yeah.
I actually would probably put Anderson third ahead of Boyd because of the matchup. But I don't believe in Deontay Johnson.
No, I would go Boyd and Deontay. Yeah, Anderson's like my 5th option out of that.
Full PPR. Full PPR hurts Robbie Anderson. But it's Ridley and Woods, especially with full PPR, really helps out Woods.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz, Matt.
Really good options.
Zach Ertz, what's going to happen?
Pardon?
Zach Ertz, rest of the season.
He's got to figure it out. When Wentz comes around, he'll come around.
Hunter Henry, not worried?
No. Oh, no. Hunter Henry's great.
Just hasn't gotten the touchdowns. Him and Herbert will get it going. Hayden Hurts, I think I'm downgrading from where I had him preseason. I think there's something wrong with the Falcons offense. I wouldn't consider him inside the top 10 anymore. He's in the 10 to 15 range.
11 this week.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where he's going to be rest of the season. It'll be him and like Schultz battling up based on matchups. They're kind of in that range. I still want Hurts over Schultz, but in a standard format, I might go the other way.
Yeah, I thought the targets would be a lot higher for Hurst.
Yeah, it really hasn't been there. And it could be a thing where, as much as I didn't think Austin Hooper was very talented, as he was very slow and not the best route runner, he would just get into spots and get open. I thought Hurst could do that as well, but apparently not. Matt, I want to congratulate you for picking the winning lineup in the Sunday Showdown again last week. Unfortunately, you used that let's switch the lineup because you like mine better. So we are 2-2 on the year. You pick the winning lineup every week. We don't have time to play today. It's a big bummer to everybody watching.
Yeah.
There's about a minute left before the game start. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much for coming out. Come back next week. Matt will have his top candle lighters of the week. 3. As well as the infamous whoever you think you are, I am, start of the week.
It's who do you think you are, I am.
Whatever. Matt, anything to add before we go and watch the football games?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
That's it.